everyone. My name is Cyril Rayan, founder and CEO of Resiligence, with the mission of making campuses safer. And today we are launching a podcast called Making Campuses Safer. And we'll be talking about workplace violence today with the recent incidents we have seen in workplace violence. With me today for the discussion is Todd Osborn, CEO of Five Faces Emergency Management Consulting.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our discussion.
Absolutely. I just wanted to share a few statistics. And when I read these, I was really appalled to see that workplace violence is prevalent, and we need to really think through it and think about prevention. So one of the things I read is 2 million US workers experience workplace violence each year. And 30,000 workplace sexual assaults happen to the women each year. And this is just in the United States. And workplace assaults result in $121 billion in losses annually. That's a big number. 27% of all mass shootings have occurred in the workplace. And one more statistic that I read is 86% of the times when a workplace shooting happens, at least one person knew about this particular incident is going to be perpetrated. And 68% of the times, two people knew that an incident is going to be perpetrated. So since there is knowledge about the incident with a few, if we know that that incident is going to happen, then we can possibly prevent it. So we are going to share a quick presentation, and I'm sure it's going to be helpful to you. Some of you already probably know this process, but then some of you maybe not, and it will definitely be useful for each one watching. So let me get to the first slide. We are going to talk about making workplaces safer, and here is a process that Todd is going to explain to us how this process works for the incident notification and screening in case of workplace violence. So Todd, go for it.
Okay. Thanks, Cyril. So before I kick off this process, I just want to revisit the numbers, the statistics that Cyril brought up. And to me, I'm a former Army intelligence guy, and we don't like surprises. We like to be able to see things or put things in place that allow us to see developing situations so that we can respond in a timely manner, in the best manner possible, okay? And to me, it's just absolutely unfathomable that almost 90% of people, or 90% of the incidents, someone was aware of something was going to happen. And even at two people, it's 70%. Mm-hmm. And there is, with those statistics, and remember, all statistics you got to take with some grain of salt, but those are at such a high level that we have an opportunity there to really intervene and prevent these things from either becoming a large-scale incident or becoming an incident at all. So part of that process is a very, very robust emergency preparedness plan. And that covers most things. We're going to talk about workplace violence because the process is really very similar. So we have an incident that occurs, and that incident is reported. And we're looking at it from a workplace violence standpoint. It's typically reported to a security operations communications center. It might even be a staff member or an anonymous line of some sort. But the important thing is that it's anonymous if the associate or the employee wants it to be anonymous, and it's communicated. Is a process that passes that information along. So I build programs based upon best practices and established standards. So this process is really a simplified version of the as-is SHRM workplace violence standard and the process contained in there. And so once the information is received, it goes through an assessment. The initial assessment says, is this an immediate threat? Is this a violent act occurring right now? And what's the next step? So if it is, in most cases, and in most organizations or process, if it's an immediate threat, it's an immediate emergency, they initiate their emergency response plan. And that's pretty much automatic. It involves law enforcement, security, first responders, and really the process takes a life of itself on from that point on. In the event here, if it's not an immediate threat and no one's being physically harmed at that particular time, it's a report of an incident, well, then you have what you call as a threat assessment team or an incident assessment, whatever name you want to call it. But that's a core function of members from the organization: corporate security, legal counsel, HR, operations, facilities, and maybe even communications might be brought in. It's an ad hoc team with 4 members, but the ad hoc allows you to add more people depending on what situation you find yourself in. It's really assembling the best team to manage the incident, the information, the incidents we have in front of them. And they look at the report, and then the determination is made: is do we need to investigate this incident? And at this point, I really think it's important that you have seasoned investigators, because the potential for downstream effect here and impact on the company is very great. So have good investigators, experienced investigators who can do this, and have them go out and find out what's going on. And then when they come back to the team and they say, here's what the investigation has found. And at that point, a decision has to be made. And I think there's a real opportunity here to change the impact of what's going on with workplace violence in the industry. You have an opportunity for intervention and prevention. So you know something has happened. You've done some investigation, and now you have a better picture of what's happened. And this goes back to military service, and you see it very prominent in any kind of leadership position. When you have someone who's a good employee or a good member of the organization, and there's a dramatic change in behavior, mannerisms, their interactions with others, that's an opportunity, because that's not normal. And that's a red flag, or a trigger, as we call them. And at that point, management or leadership should get involved and say, what's going on? What is it? Because in this world, we are in an exceptionally stressful environment. The back end of COVID-19, just the general situation in the world in general has just added stress to everyone. And it's pushed some people to the edge. So the opportunity to intervene and speak to the individual, say, what's going on? And you may find out it might be financial, it might be personal, it might be medical, whatever. Most organizations have employee assistance programs of some sort. And if you don't, I highly recommend you look into getting one for your employees. Because these are programs that can say, if they're having these kinds of problems, these are ways to help them, to defuse the situation with this individual. And the result can be you get a productive employee back, and you get a grateful employee, and the organization as a whole is better, because we take care of each other. And that's really what we should do. And if it turns out to be a more serious situation, well, then those prevention items and those steps are readily available as well. Now, after that intervention, prevention has occurred, you have to monitor and make sure that did it come out with peaceful resolution? Did the individual agree that we're going to follow through with some corrective actions, we're going to do some training, or we're going to do some intervention of some sort and work with them to help get them through this? Mm-hmm. If it's not a peaceful resolution, then of course it goes feeds right back up into the system, where the threat management team and the investigator, they might have to relook this case and decide if something more permanent needs to be done or something else needs to be approached. If it is a peaceful resolution, then it goes into the monitoring, because you want the management, the leadership, and the organization as well to stay on top of this. Because while it may start out well, it may relapse. There may be a relapse of some sort. You never know. So you have to keep tabs on that and the progress that's being made. And here's the last thing that is often either whitewashed over or not done at all, is a post-incident review or after-action review. And when we get to post-incident or after-action reviews, and they're prevalent throughout the industry, the prevalent project management and emergency management, and most, I mean, even the military we did I think most places do them in some way, shape, or form. But when you're dealing with incidents like this, post-incident reviews are an opportunity to bring someone, and you want someone who is formally trained in after-action or post-incident reviews to come into the organization and walk through that process with you and say, what happened? From the beginning, from the notification of the incident, go through the process, go through the actions, the reactions that were taken, the steps, and the policies and procedures that were enacted, and find out what went well. What can we continue to use and maybe tweak a little bit to make it better, because it worked well for us at the beginning. Mm-hmm. There's things that don't go well, or maybe the plan assumed it was going to unfold in a certain way and it doesn't unfold that way. Well, those are the points. Those are things that didn't go well. You want to identify these things, and then you want to look at your plans and identify the gaps. Where did it fall apart? Where did it? We think it was going to go A, B, C, and it actually went A, B, B. So you look at that, and then you document those things, and you put those in your continuous improvement program. You go back, you revisit the plan, what changes need to be made, what changes to the training needs to be made, is additional training need to be included? There's all kinds of opportunities here, and it is an absolute shame that gets lost because we're all busy. We overlook the post-incident reviews, and if we do one, maybe the information is never fed back into the organization, so we have the same thing happen again, which is unforgivable in today's world. So it's very important that robust, dynamic programs exist, and very, very effective training is in place for the employees, a different type of similar, but more focused for the management and leadership level. And obviously, the executive leadership needs to be engaged and visible to say, we do not tolerate this. These are our policies. These are the way we will handle these events, and we will do this together as an organization. If you can follow these programs and follow these protocols and these best practices, nobody can guarantee nothing bad will happen, but I can guarantee that if you do these things and you stay on top of your programs, you have the opportunity to take a very, very terrible situation and either prevent it or mitigate or reduce the total impact it's going to have should it happen. So,
absolutely. Thank you so much, Todd, for really simplifying the process, the screening process, and sharing this with us. Let's talk about the incident notification. I want to share the solution that we have for tips reporting or incident reporting, which can be used in the workplace. And as Todd mentioned, if there is no clear way to report incidents, there can be a problem because the report will not be there for us to process or screen. So looking at TipNow Pro, we have an app which can be used to report suspicious activity or some incidents that have happened in the workplace anonymously. And we know that by research that anonymous reporting, or if you provide a platform for anonymous reporting, you will see many more reports. And not only research, we have proven by our 10 plus years of deployments that when we have an anonymous reporting system in place, you will get much more reports. So let's quickly go through this process of how this reporting happens. The organization will adopt TipNow and will deploy the TipNow system for the workplace, if you will. And the stakeholders can actually report suspicious activity anonymously using a voice tip, a SMS tip, a video tip, a mobile tip, which can include attachments of pictures and videos as well. You can take a picture and a video with the app And also it can include live streaming if that is relevant. And the tip goes into our server, which is on the cloud. It encrypts the sender information, then disseminates it to the security operations center and or the threat management team directly on their SMS and email. So instantaneously, they are able to receive the information. They can even go back and forth, have a two-way communication with the tipster anonymously to find more information immediately. So it's really not just a incident reporting or tip reporting system, but it's actually a platform to communicate back and forth to find more information and to resolve it. We also have a web portal where all these tips and incidents will be gathered, and they can be processed, they can be resolved. There is also different reports and data analytics that we can perform on that. So the app looks pretty simple. You just choose the issue and then describe the issue and then add media and send the tip. And so it's pretty simple to use. The web portal will be used by the threat management team or the threat assessment team to continue to interact with that incident report and manage it to resolution or completion. And so when you go to the dashboard, you see the types of tips that are reported in the system, and also you see the threat level of the different tips that are in the system. The portal looks pretty simple and very simple to understand and use. For example, you have all these reports on the left-hand side. The latest one will appear on the top. There is color coding for the tips for the threat levels, if you will, and then each of the tips have different states, if you will. It comes in an open state, and there is a followed up state, and there is closed. So when an incident or a tip is reported, the threat assessment team will be managing it to closure. There is also a chat capability for the threat assessment team to continue the conversation with the tipster and find more information. So they can continue the process that Todd was talking about using this system, where you can continue to investigate the incident, you can continue to ask questions, and you can use the web portal for continual communication. And there are some action buttons here, and you can forward the tip to others, you can actually resolve the tip, you can archive the tip, and so there is various capabilities here in the system. Now, this is a page for the threat level. And we have built a system using artificial intelligence and natural language processing. We have taken all the data from 10 plus years of our system, categorized it into 3 threat levels: high, medium, and low. And also we are connecting to a Stanford vocabulary library called GLOW, which has 50,000 keywords. And as soon as the report comes in, we are able to read the tip using AI and NLP and assign a threat level to it. And this will, of course, be helping the threat management team to immediately know the potential threat level. And so they know that they have to act quickly. And then, of course, they will need to do their own investigation to confirm the threat level for this particular tip or this particular incident that they are looking at. Now, at the end of the day, I think the results speak for themselves. And TipNow has prevented 3 active shooter situations so far, 1 in a middle school environment, 1 in a high school environment, 1 in a college environment. And we feel that TipNow, the process can be replicated in a corporate environment to help with the workplace violence issues. And I wanted to share this slide as well. TipNow obviously needs human intervention where people or stakeholders will be reporting suspicious activity or workplace violence related issues and using the app. But there is, as I call it, there is a capability available right now that can actually bring in automated tips into the system. So for example, let's say potential workplace violence could be prevented. So let me give an example. Let's say somebody gets fired from their work. And when they got fired, they really threatened the supervisor and left angry. Now, we want to make sure that they don't come back to the workplace because they could be a potential threat. And so one of the ways to prevent them from even coming to the workplace, let alone causing damage or causing that violent incident, is to have a license plate recognition system where if their car comes into the campus, immediately there'll be notifications going out through Tip Now, and that will buy a lot of time for security to come and possibly prevent the incident. And weapon detection is another one, where technology is available now. We are partnering with a leading provider of video analytics to even provide weapon detection and using video analytics. So I really call this as automated tips. And this can be a huge value in a workplace setting. And even as Todd will tell you, if you ask him, seconds matter during emergencies. And if we can even prevent it, and that will be great. So I feel a system like this, which includes automated tips using video analytics, and also tips that are reported by people with the see something, say something idea, will go a long way to really close the gap on the incident reporting at workplaces. So that's all we wanted to share with you today. We will come back with other videos. And if you have ideas, we are going to definitely launch this as a podcast as well as videos on LinkedIn. And if you have other ideas about what topics you would like to see covered, so please comment and please share so we can learn and we can prevent workplace violence. And the contact information is on your screen. And please connect with us, and we'll be happy to work with you to help you with training. And that's where Todd comes in to the picture and his company, and also the technology for incident reporting. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next podcast.